Imagine sitting at a dinner table, surrounded by family, and feeling like an outsider. That's a reality for many people who decide to cut off contact with their families. It's a decision that's often misunderstood, shrouded in silence, and filled with complex emotions. What drives someone to take such a drastic step? Is it a sudden breakdown, or a slow, painful build-up? In this video, we are diving into the psychology behind this heart-wrenching choice. We'll explore the signs, the reasons, and the consequences, all through real-life stories and expert insights. If you've ever wondered about the invisible walls that can rise within families, or if you're personally grappling with this issue, this is a conversation you won't want to miss. The personal reasons behind family estrangement. Some people grow up in families that seem picture-perfect from the outside, yet they harbored deep-seated issues that eventually led to estrangement. It's not always about one big event, but rather a build-up of smaller, often overlooked moments. For instance, a person might feel constantly criticized for their life choices, no matter how big or small. Over time, these comments can erode self-esteem and create a sense of emotional distance. It's like a slow leak in a tire. You might not notice it at first, but eventually, the tire goes flat, and you can't ignore it anymore. Toxic dynamics within families can push individuals to cut off contact. For example, a person might grow up in a household where one parent constantly undermines the other, creating a tense and unstable environment. This can lead to a sense of loyalty conflict, where the individual feels torn between parents and ultimately decides to remove themselves from the situation to preserve their mental well-being. In some cases, these dynamics can mimic emotional abuse, leaving lasting scars that make reconnecting difficult. In some families, expectations can be so high that they become unbearable. For example, a person might feel pressured to pursue a certain career path, get married, or have children, despite their personal desires. This pressure can create a sense of suffocation, as if the individual's own dreams and aspirations are being smothered. When communication breaks down and these expectations are not met, estrangement can feel like the only way to reclaim autonomy and personal agency. It's a desperate act of self-preservation, a way to draw a boundary and protect one's sense of self. The role of unresolved conflicts and past traumas. Unresolved conflicts can leave people feeling stuck, like a record player skipping on the same scratch. These conflicts often stem from deep-rooted disagreements or misunderstandings that have never been properly addressed. For instance, a child who grows up with parents who constantly argue may feel caught in the middle, with no resolution in sight. Over time, this can create a sense of emotional exhaustion and frustration. When these feelings build up, cutting off contact with a family can seem like the only way to escape the cycle. It's a drastic step, but for some, it feels necessary to protect their mental well-being. However, the unresolved nature of these conflicts means that the emotional wounds remain open, continuing to cause pain even after contact has been severed. Past traumas can also play a significant role in someone's decision to cut off contact with their family. Trauma is a deeply distressing or disturbing experience that can leave lasting emotional scars. For example, a person who experienced abuse or neglect as a child may find it impossible to maintain a healthy relationship with their family. The pain of the past trauma can be so intense that it feels safer to distance oneself completely. This isn't just about avoiding unpleasant memories. It's about protecting oneself from further harm. Trauma can also affect a person's ability to trust and communicate effectively, making it difficult to resolve conflicts and build positive relationships. In some cases, therapy can help individuals process their trauma and learn to cope with their emotions in a healthier way. But for others, cutting off contact may feel like the only way to find peace. The impact of unresolved conflicts and past traumas can be seen in the way people interact with their families. For example, a person who grew up in a hostile environment may struggle with feelings of anger and resentment. These emotions can make it difficult to have a calm, rational conversation with family members. Over time, this can lead to a breakdown in communication and a sense of isolation. The person may feel like they are constantly walking on eggshells, never knowing when the next argument or conflict will erupt. In such situations, cutting off contact can feel like a way to reclaim control and establish boundaries. It's important to remember that this decision is often a last resort, made after years of feeling powerless and unheard. The hope is that by creating distance, the person can begin to heal and move forward with their life. The impact of mental health and personality differences. Mental health struggles often cast long, dark shadows over family dynamics. When someone cuts off contact, it's not uncommon to find untreated anxiety, depression, or PTSD lurking in the background. These conditions can distort perceptions, making interactions feel overwhelming or intolerable. For instance, someone with social anxiety might interpret a family gathering as a judgmental gauntlet rather than a supportive event. Without proper management, these feelings can escalate, making estrangement seem like the only way to protect their mental well-being. Personality differences can also create chasms between family members. Imagine two siblings. One is highly introverted and values solitude, while the other is extroverted and craves constant togetherness. These differences can lead to misunderstandings and resentment. The introverted sibling might feel smothered, while the extroverted one could feel rejected. Over time, these clashes can erode the relationship, especially if neither party feels understood. Personality clashes are often at the heart of many estrangements. Moreover, mental health and personality differences can intersect in complex ways. For example, someone with borderline personality disorder might struggle with intense emotional reactions and fears of abandonment. In a family setting, this can lead to volatile dynamics. If family members don't understand or accommodate these challenges, the individual might feel compelled to cut ties to preserve their emotional stability. Similarly, a family member with narcissistic traits might dismiss or belittle others' feelings, creating an environment where estrangement feels necessary for self-preservation. In these scenarios, the interplay between mental health and personality can make family relationships particularly fraught. Navigating societal expectations and guilt. Societal expectations often paint family relationships as unbreakable bonds. People who cut off contact with their families frequently grapple with the weight of these expectations. They might feel pressure to maintain ties, regardless of the emotional cost. For instance, cultural norms might dictate that adult children should always be involved in their parents' lives, even when those relationships are toxic or harmful. This pressure can make individuals feel guilty for prioritizing their mental health and well-being. The guilt can be intense, especially during holidays or family gatherings, when societal expectations are at their peak. Guilt often stems from the belief that one is violating a moral obligation. In many societies, family loyalty is highly valued. When someone cuts off contact, they might feel like they are betraying this value. For example, a person might feel guilty for not supporting an aging parent, even if that parent has been emotionally abusive. This guilt can be compounded by well-meaning friends or family members who ask, "Why can't you just forgive and forget?" Such questions can make the individual feel isolated and misunderstood. They might start to question their own decisions, even when they know deep down that cutting off contact was necessary for their well-being. Moreover, societal expectations can create a sense of shame. People might feel ashamed for not living up to the idealized image of a close-knit family. They might hide their situation from others, fearing judgment or pity. For instance, someone might avoid discussing their family life at work or social events. This secrecy can add another layer of stress, further isolating the individual. It's important to remember that everyone's situation is unique. What works for one family might not work for another. Prioritizing one's mental health is not a failure. It's a courageous act of self-care, the process of healing and moving forward. It's not uncommon to feel stuck after cutting off contact with family. The initial relief might fade, leaving behind a sense of loss or emptiness. Healing begins when you acknowledge these feelings. It's a process, not a quick fix. For instance, journaling can help make sense of the emotions. Writing down thoughts and feelings creates a tangible record, making it easier to track progress. It's like having a conversation with yourself, but on paper. This practice can reveal patterns and triggers, offering insights into personal growth. Over time, it can foster a deeper understanding of oneself and the reasons behind the decision to create distance. Seeking support is another crucial step. It can feel isolating to go through this alone. Friends, support groups, or therapists can provide a safe space to share experiences. They offer different perspectives, which can be incredibly validating. For example, a therapist can help unpack complex emotions tied to family relationships. They might use techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy to challenge negative thought patterns. This can be particularly helpful when dealing with guilt or self-doubt. Remember, asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness. Creating new routines can also aid in healing. When family ties are strained or severed, old routines often fall away. Establishing new ones can provide a sense of normalcy and control. This could be as simple as starting a new exercise regimen or taking up a hobby. For instance, someone might join a local sports team or start painting. These activities not only fill the time but also foster a sense of accomplishment and belonging. They can help rebuild self-esteem and create a new identity outside of family dynamics. It's about finding what brings joy and purpose, even in the midst of pain. Lastly, setting boundaries is essential for moving forward. This doesn't mean cutting off contact again, but rather defining what is acceptable and what is not. It's about communicating needs and expectations clearly. For example, someone might decide to limit contact to certain days or topics. It's important to remember that boundaries are not punishments. They are a way to protect emotional well-being. It's okay to say no, to take time for oneself, and to prioritize personal needs. By setting and respecting boundaries, it's possible to create healthier relationships, even with difficult family members. You've made it to the end of our journey into a complex topic. Let's recap. We've seen how cutting off family contact isn't just about one big fight. It's often a slow buildup of unresolved issues, repeated patterns, or even survival mechanisms. It's not always about the drama. Sometimes, it's about self-preservation. Think about the times you've heard someone say, "First just need some space." Imagine if that space turned into years, or even a lifetime. It's tough to grasp, right? But for some people, it's a reality. They're not just hitting pause, they're pressing stop, at least for a while. Now, we've only scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore. What about the role of culture? Or the impact on mental health? How do these families navigate holidays and milestones? These are all questions we'll dive into in our next video. So, if this topic resonated with you, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We are just getting started, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Also, drop a comment below. Have you or someone you know gone through something similar? Let's keep the conversation going. After all, understanding these experiences is the first step towards healing and growth. See you in the next one.